Hey, today I thought I'd make a little playthrough of a little board game I've recently made. I just call it NIKKE Dice, as it is based on the NIKKE Goddess of Victory game. If you don't know what that is, that's not a problem. You don't really need to. And this is not really gonna be like a tutorial per se. I have a rule stock for this. I might maybe make an actual tutorial in video form sometime. But right now I'm just gonna do like a little video playthrough so that people who have at least glanced through the rules, skimmed through them, can basically see the game in action to more intuitively understand the rules that they read. So that's basically what I'm gonna do. NIKKE Dice is a currently solo only dice oriented game where the goal is to clear one of these missions, and I've already selected the one I'm gonna do. But yeah, your goal is to clear one of these missions, and if you want to be, I guess, try hard about it, which maybe you should, also trying to get the highest score possible according to these conditions on the back of the mission cards, which I'll talk about later when I finish, if I finish. It's not that easy per se. But yeah, in this specific mission, the goal is to defeat this enemy right here, this target, which is gonna have 2 lives. That's the amount of pink skull icons on top of the target image. And he's gonna have this weakness, that element or code or whatever you want to call it. And he's going to spawn at close range, so this row, when he does spawn. At the start of the second cycle, shuffle knight and defeated strikers into close. So that's how it's gonna happen. I've already selected my NIKKE squad as well. I don't know for sure if it's like grade or not for this mission, but it seems good enough. Just remove these notes here. I don't need them, but they might be useful for you. That's why they're there. But yeah, these are the recommended codes from most to least recommended. And of course, if the code is not here at all, then it's not recommended at all. And I made a team of 2 rocket launcher NIKKEs and 1 submachine gun NIKKE with the right codes, I'd say. And they should also be fine in terms of ranges because I have a close to mid NIKKE, and these 2 can just fight at any range basically. So this should be fine. So yeah, we don't really need the mission card anymore. We can just set this up. This is the close range pile, as it says when you hover over it. Mid and far. We can just shuffle those. And I'll put the knight next to the close range so I know he's gonna spawn there eventually. So yeah, the game ends when this guy's defeated. In that case, I win. And if all my NIKKEs are defeated or this guy reaches this column, then I lose. That's about it. So, to finish setting up the game, I'm gonna just put some mission background music in here. Yeah, so to finish setting these up, I'm just gonna give each NIKKE their initial dice, which is gonna be equal to their reload pool. So 1, 2, 3 electric, 1 fire. Drag to select, roll. And then I'm gonna hold them and press 4 on the keyboard to line them up. You don't need to, but you know, it looks better, more practical. For Ennis, we got 3 iron, 1 fire. Will also line up like this. And for litter, we have 3. Just found a typo, visual typo. 3 iron and 3 electric. That's pretty good, actually. You'll see why if you don't understand yet. So in terms of the chosen gun types here, none of them are particularly simple. That was kind of on purpose because I want to show how the less simple ones work on video. I thought that would be a better idea, but I also didn't choose the more complicated weapon type. I'll leave that for maybe a later video. But yeah, I'll basically describe them in action when it gets to it. Currently, my Nikkes are pretty much set up. Just need some skill tokens in here. I'll also set this to like 30 degrees so they're a little better oriented. And Litter also has a second skill. That's gonna be that. Finally, I just need to spawn the first column of enemies. And this is a blank enemy card, so when this would spawn, discard it instead. And in fact, what I like to do on Tabletop Sim specifically here is I don't like starting with empty discard piles for practical reasons. And to counteract that, I just discard the top enemy of each pile, basically. It doesn't really affect the gameplay at all because you don't know what the enemy is and it's gonna get reshuffled anyway. So I like doing that for practical reasons. You'll see why in a bit. But yeah, this is the starting setup for this mission. So to properly start my first turn, since it's the first turn, you don't need to advance the burst style, but you can just skip straight to actions, basically. So act with all of your Nikkes once each, and use skills if you wanna. So in this case, for example, I could do something like... Okay, let's get to submachine gun shooting. So as it says on the card here, which is actually not fully updated, but the SMG portion is correct. They can simply shoot one die at close range, any die, or they can spray, which is something they can do at close or mid-range. Use up to 2 dice, each of them of value 3 or less. And those dice go on the same target or adjacent ones. This can be vertically adjacent or horizontally adjacent because that's valid for both close and mid-range. So you can spread them between close and mid-range, as that says. In this case, I'm not really gonna do that. I am simply going to use this and this. Both of them here on the striker. These are 2, so they fill the slots that require at least a 2. And with the slots fully filled, striker is defeated. I'm gonna hold control on the keyboard and click it. And then hover over that card I just discarded and press G on the keyboard. Voila. Great. Then I can just delete the dice normally. Alright, Litter is shot. I'm gonna change her standee, signify that. It's like the main reminder here for if NIKKE has taken their turn. Then Anis is gonna shoot her own shot here. Yeah, she's gonna have to use these 2. So, rocket launchers. Use 2 to 4 dice on the closest enemy of any column. Currently, he's the only enemy in the column, so of course he is the closest. Then the second part further explains how to split those dice and how they work. Because rocket launcher has a bit of a splash damage thing, as you might kind of assume. Use 1 to 2 dice on main targets, then 0 to 1 on each adjacent target. Adjacent targets' dice are lowered by 2. There are no adjacent target right now, so there's no point using more than 2 dice. because on the main target you can only use 1 or 2. So yeah, I'll be using these two right here. This one fills the 6 slot because it's a 6. This one can fill the 4 slot because it's a matching code, and that means the dice is basically worth 2 more on its value. So it's worth a 5 currently on that enemy. Even though the enemy is not yet defeated, I'm not in a rush. I don't particularly feel like shooting with Balorta right now, because I would still have to spend 2 dice. As the rocket launcher shoot says, use 2 to 4 dice. So if I did shoot with Balorta here, I would have to spend 2 dice, place 1, and this one would just be wasted. In this case, I'm not gonna do that. I will simply take the second action that you can do with a NIKKE, which is reload. Just reroll these 2 dice, because I don't feel like rerolling the other 2. And take cover. I'll just press that. I'll take in cover. If she were to get hit, the cover would get hit instead, but she's not gonna get hit at all. After I'm done with all my NIKKEs, I'm not gonna use skills. I don't feel like it, but I could have at any time. I'll just advance all the enemies to the right. Since the enemies were in the first column, they do not attack yet. Or they don't attack any NIKKE because there's no NIKKE below them. And after acting with the present enemies, I spawn 1 more on each range. Alright, so we got a dagger here. A dagger enemy is a bit special because, as it says in the passive, spawns at the leftmost empty space above a NIKKE. So within its range, it's gonna spawn in the leftmost empty space above a NIKKE. Then its attack is gonna require it to move to close range, and if it did, it deals 3 damage. Or rather, if it is at close range after this, it deals 3 damage. And in this case he could, because there's no enemy here. So if I let him stay there for 1 more turn, he's gonna move to close, deal damage, and then move to the right as normal, as all enemies do. So, enemy phase is over. I'm gonna just press next turn. It's gonna reset the standees, rotate the dial, and reset the covers as well. That's basically all that needs to reset at the start of your turn. And then I'm gonna get to shooting again. That's what I do. Anna's here isn't gonna do much with those 1s. Correction, Anna's is not gonna do anything with those 1s. So what I'm gonna do with her, I know I'll reload and take cover. I look at the reload ammo pool here. I'm missing 1 orange iron, whatever you want to call it, and 1 red die. So those are the new ones I'm gonna roll. And then I can also re-roll these 2 because they suck. Okay. That's basically, yeah, that's fine. That is fine. So for Litter and Balorta, let's look at their skills now real quick. Balorta's active says the next time she shoots after using the skill, the dice placed on adjacent enemies are not lowered. That's a typo as well. And can be re-rolled once. And you can use the skill again if you kill 2 or more enemies with it. And the skill is defensive, makes 1 NIKKE taunt and recovers their cover. Keep in mind, cover cannot go above 12, a cover durability. Like you can't add a 3rd dice to cover. Litter's skill also recovers cover by a lot and gains 1 dice with a 2 on it of that NIKKE's color. That's what that means. And her passive says that if you use both her burst and her active on the same turn, you can reroll up to 2 2s across your Nikkes. Alright. Yeah, probably not gonna do any of that. So litter here is a tiny problem. Yeah. It is. So I have 2 options basically. I can let Balor tank the dagger and I can kill the Fez. Because I cannot kill the dagger right now. Or, excuse me. Or I can make Anna's taunt with her skill and just not really worry about them in general. I guess those 2 are kind of the same option, now that I think about it. I'll do that. I'll play it safe. I'll use Anna's skill. I could just flip her token to use it at any point in my turn. Use her skill to place the taunt marker on her. And if she had damaged cover, this would recover it by 4. She doesn't. So nothing happens there. And I guess Balorta. It is tough. Okay, so litter. The only dice she can spray with are these 2. These 2 can only be used on a single target at close range. And they're not very useful for the striker because he has very low values, so I'd rather not. This is useless because there are no enemies weak to electric and there are no slots with a 1 on the enemies. So this is not useful. And this is only useful for spray. So this is all kind of pointless right now. Unless I use Litter's skill just for the dice gain. That would actually benefit me. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna use Bolt Boost to flip that token and just give her a 2 of her own code, which is orange, iron. And I'm gonna use these 2 for a spray shoot on these 2 enemies. I could have done both on the striker. I could have done both on the Fez. I might do both on the Fez, actually. Oh no, this plan sucks. Hold on. Okay, it's fine. It's alright. Okay. It's alright. So with Balorta, I'll just... Okay, I'm fine with this, yeah. Balorta, I'll use her shots on this Fez here. So I'm gonna need like a 5 to blow him up. But I also need to spend 1 more die at least. So I could... It's kind of inefficient and not what I wanted to do at all. Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna use Balorta's skill. I'm gonna put it on top here. just to show that it's currently active. And I'll flip it once the effect is basically done. Next time I shoot, the dice placed on adjacent enemies are not lowered and can be re-rolled once. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use all of these dice. And the main target's gonna be the Fez. But the main target can only take... I'll probably not use all of these dice. But just for demonstration purposes and for thinking purposes, I'll put them all here. So the main target is gonna take this. Now these two dice, normally, or whatever two I decide to use rather, they would normally get reduced by 2. So this one, if I placed it on an adjacent enemy, would be reduced, but it stays as 1 because that's the lowest number possible on the die. And this 6 would have to be reduced to a 4. However, due to Balorda's skill, not only do they not get reduced, but I can actually re-roll them once I decide that they go on an adjacent target. So I'm going to use this one on the dagger here, and I'll re-roll it. Still a 1. God dang it. Okay. And this 6, I am not going to re-roll it. Just goes there. And this one, I don't need to use it at all, because I used a valid amount of dice. And I've already placed 1 on each. I've already tried to place 1 on each adjacent target. And that was the result. So in this case, I couldn't, for example, after re-rolling this, suddenly decide that, oh, now I want to use this die as well. That's not really how this skill is meant to work. It's once you decide where the dice are going on the adjacent targets, then you can re-roll it to see if, you can improve the value. If that wastes the die, then that wastes the die. It is what it is. So she's gonna get this back. This shot killed both of these Fez, and these dice are gone. And the skill reads, if this shot defeats 2 or more enemies, recover the active one used. So this gets flipped back and is available again for the next time she shoots. And that's gonna be my turn. I end my player phase, the dagger. We're basically gonna do the enemies from right to left and within each column from top to bottom. So this. Dagger moves to close. And if it is now at close, which it is, deal 3 damage. These 3 damage go to the NIKKE that has taunt. It doesn't really matter if it looks intuitively like a close range attack, like a melee attack of sorts. It still goes to the taunting NIKKE. So let's take those 3 from the cover. I'm just gonna press 3 here on the keyboard. There it is. And then as normal, after it acts, it moves 1 space to the right. Striker moves 1 space to the right. And we can spawn the new column. Blank. Blank. Striker. That could not have gone easier. Not gonna say better, but easier. So I'm gonna press next turn here. This taunt marker also goes away. That's not automatic. Maybe one day I'll make it. I don't know. And we have now reached burst turn 1. Burst turn 1. Which means that your NIKKE on the first slot, which is also, as I mentioned, color, or cover, and whatever. She can use her burst this turn, once. She can't save it up. Gotta be this turn or nothing. So, Tricky Bomber. Independent shoots. Each rocket launcher NIKKE re-rolls up to 2 dice. So first of all, her actual action is gonna be reload and take cover. I'm gonna basically do that. Okay. And then she will use her burst. So an independent shoot is basically like a shoot action, but it's not an action. And it doesn't spend your current dice, your owned dice. That shows what dice you're gonna independently roll, and those are the dice that you're gonna use for this shot. So I take 3 electric, 1 fire, I roll them. Before I spend them, I'm also gonna do the second effect now. Each rocket launcher NIKKE rerolls 2 of their owned dice, not these. These are independent again. Reroll, and is gonna reroll these 2. Valorta is gonna reroll these 2. That's about the same. So now I'm gonna do the independent shoot. Gonna use these for I could actually have used this her skill on the independent shoot, but it's still a shoot, and the skill says the next time you shoot, so that's valid, but I don't really need to, I guess. I think, yeah. I'm just going to place these on this striker. And this one, since it goes to an adjacent enemy, gets reduced by 2. That's wasted. I can't put it anywhere, given the rules of the rocket launcher shot as well. But also there's slots, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. After that... Oh yeah, she doesn't have a second usable skill. She has a passive. Alright. That destroys the striker. I guess Litter is just gonna do a normal close range shot using 1 die. That's the first effect, right there, the first option for SMG shooting. And that destroys the dagger enemy. And I guess Anis can just pump 2 dice into this striker. And that's it. Pretty clean so far. There's no enemies to make acts. We're just gonna spawn a new column. Blank. And press next turn. After that, we're on a burst 2 turn now, so we can use that pinpoint rocket. Once again, independent shoots. With the bonus addition that unlike normal rocket launcher shots, this, well, you can choose any main target, not just the closest enemy of each column. So normally, if I shot with Anis, with any rocket launcher, I would have to target the striker, because it's the closest enemy of the only column with enemies, basically. I could not target Fez, it is not the closest enemy of its column. But using pinpoint rocket, I could do that. And frankly, I will. So, it says use 3 iron dice, 3 iron dice and 1 fire die. So 1, 2, 3, 1. In case you don't know, this is kind of written in the notes here in the table. But in case you don't know how I'm doing this, I'm holding left click. You can see that my hand changed a little. Maybe you can see that. I don't know if you can see that in the video. But yeah, I'm holding left click and then just like holding left click on the dice container and then just right clicking a bunch of times to get stuff from it. Fast and effective. I'm gonna take these 4 dice for the independent shoots. I'm gonna aim it at the fez. That's alright. So that can go there, because it has a higher value by 2. It's the right element. And that can go there. These 2 are wasted. Pinpoint rocket is done. I'm not worried about the striker currently. I'm just gonna reroll with the reload with the other 2. Olorta already has all the dice in her reload pool, so all I can do is reroll them. I'll do that. Okay, these rerolls are going pretty well. And for litter, these 2 dice she already had, so I can't gain them. So I'll just set her ammo pool to E6. And I guess I'll just roll all of them. It's fair enough. I'll just do that. A lot of low values, which I guess is kind of nice for an SMG. And no 4s, which are probably the worst value for them. Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, it's alright. I'm not really gonna use any more skills either. I'll just do the enemy turn, which is just this and this. We got a couple weird enemies here. The sphere does not attack, but when she gets here and acts, just like every other enemy, it self-destructs, but it deals 3 damage specifically with that self-destruct to all your Nikkes, as self-destructs tend to. But her passive is actually good for you. When destroyed, move up to 2 dice on this enemy to adjacent foes. The blocker here is more problematic. It also does not attack and has a self-destruct damage set, but its passive is, unless all the slots with a 2 on them, these slots, unless those slots are all covered, the blocker protects foes on the same or adjacent columns. And protect here is a keyword, which simply means you cannot put dice on them. So, currently, I cannot place dice on any of these 3 enemies until I cover these 3 slots with a 2 value on them. So yeah, I'm gonna start the next turn. First 3, I can use litter boosts, which is a big deal right now. Because litter boost, it advances the burst style. On top of just giving your Nikkes dice. Specifically, 2 iron dice with a 2 value each, and you can just distribute them across your Nikkes freely. So I'm going to do that. And these 2 dice will go to, I guess, litter and Olorta? I think so. And I'm gonna advance the burst style. So I can just press next turn. There's no real problem with that. It doesn't break the scripts or anything. So I'll just do that. And with the burst style now advanced, it's now a full burst turn, which means we reset all of the skills and we get to use, once again, all of their bursts one more time. In this case, I don't yet know what I'll do with them, but I think litter here is gonna spray the blocker. Yeah, like that. So that's her action. I'm also going to use her Volt Boost, her other skill, her active one. I'll choose a NIKKE, and then I'll recover their cover by 8, and they'll gain a dice with 2 on it. So that's gonna be Anis. Just press 6 on that, and I'll give her a 2 die of her own code. So, passive double boosts. Since I just use her burst and active on the same turn, I'm gonna reroll up to 2 2s across any of my NIKKEs. So I'll reroll exactly the ones I just gave my rocket launchers. Okay, not great, but I can make use of that. I can. Okay. I'm gonna use Balor's skill now to shoot with these 3 dice with her action. This 3 is going here. This 4 is going here. Why did I do? Well, there's no point, but there's no reason not to either. No, there is. Hang on. Hang on. There is. I will just do the normal shot. And I can actually do that. This is legal. Why? Because like the order in which you distribute. Hang on. Okay, in this case it's not legal because I worded something very carefully here. So this says use 1 to 2 dice on main target, then up to 1 die on each adjacent target. What does this mean? Normally, imagine that for demonstration purposes, let's imagine that litter attack again, spraying with these 2 dice, basically. If I spray with these 2 dice, this enemy is still protecting this one, right? So I can't do this. But that. However, I can, within this 1 spray shoot action, I can place these 2 dice in any order on the enemies that I'm targeting. So I can place this one here. And then, now that the blocker has all its problematic squares covered, I can actually place this here. This is valid. This is legal. With rocket launchers, however, the rocket launcher shoot specifically says first to use the dice on the main target, then you use the dice on the adjacent targets. So if I pick this as the main target, where I'll put 2 dice, then I can't actually place dice on it. I'll have to pick the blocker as the main target so that I can cover this slot first, and then put 1 dice on adjacent targets, like this. Hope that made sense. But yeah, that's what I'll do. Not terribly, I wasn't terribly smart, but you know, I'm not meant to do a very smart playthrough. Okay, I'm gonna do Anis's independent shoot now. Maybe. Yeah. I will. And it's probably gonna be targeting the sphere, but I can decide that after I roll the dice. Right. That would be pretty efficient. I would just kill these 2. But currently, this Fez is a small problem. These two enemies are actually gonna hit Balorta right now. She's already shot. She can't take cover. So she will take those hits. And I think at this present time, even though dice efficiency is very important in this game, in this current situation, I think it is more valuable to be safe than efficient. So I'm gonna use these on the Fez. Or I could even, hang on. No, I'm gonna use these on the blocker. Also not super efficient, but it's good. Why? I can place this here, this reduced by 2 here, and I guess it really doesn't matter which one, because he's not weak to any of them. So I'll do that. And this one is wasted, because I can only place 1 die on each adjacent target. That's a rocket launcher rule. And since that is a rocket launcher shoot specifically, that's the rules we're gonna follow. And that burst is gonna defeat both of these, which means that now I can use her normal shoot action on the Fez. I still need to spend 2 dice, because that's a rocket launcher rule. But that one's gonna defeat the Fez. No more danger for Balorta this turn. The only burst I have not used yet, at least not in the full burst turn, is Litter Boost. I used it on this turn, but I just advanced the dial so I get another use of it. And that's what I'm gonna do. Now that I've used these 2's bursts, there's no reason not to advance the burst dial. Normally, if I, for example, if I advance the burst dial before I use the bursts on these 2, they would stop being available, because you're no longer in the full burst turn. That's what matters. So you need to be careful with the timing of these things here. In this case, I was on a full burst turn. I used the burst on these 2 and then used litters to advance the dial. I shouldn't have pressed next turn in this case, but you know, it's alright. Advance, spawn. And actually, let me undo that real quick. The mission card says, at the start of the second cycle, meaning when you reach the starting spot of the dial again, the knights and defeated strikers are shuffled into close. So let's do that. All of the strikers go here, and so does the knight. And now we can spawn the enemies. Okay, just a bunch of spheres, you know, that's fine, that's great. I'm gonna change the music here. Change it again. Yeah, that's great. Alright, so at the start of your turn, you still press next turn, you still advance the burst tile again, because the start of turn advance is completely independent from that burst, from skill effects in general. So that happens. And then I'll get to shooting and stuff. Shooting stuff and stuff. So, first of all, actually, yeah, probably not actually. Well, I can spray with litter. I can do that, that, and I was trying to do like a cool thing here, but maybe I just can't right now. Yeah, I don't think I can. That's fine. I'm just gonna use Balorta here to do that. When the sphere is defeated, destroyed, whatever, move up to 2 dice on it to adjacent foes, like that. And then, yes, Anna's will just, oh, she can't. True. Rocket launchers require 2 dice to shoot, at least, always. So she cannot shoot at all with a single die. She's gonna have to do her reload and take cover right now. Get her missing dice. And reroll those. Yeah, that's pretty alright. Yeah. That's gonna be it for this turn. Spears advance, we spawn more stuff. More rapture. Then we go on to the next turn. Now Balorta is gonna reload. And later is not. We're also on a burst 1 turn right now. That means Tricky Bomber is available. Tricky Bomber. Okay, speaking of tricky, this Waller enemy here has a tricky passive. He also does not attack, just has self-destruct damage. But his passive says adjacent foes require +2 on their dice value to be placed. So, for example, you want to put dice on these 2 value slots, you gotta place at least a 4 to be able to place dice in those slots, because the striker is adjacent to the Waller. Same with this, this sphere here. So these 3 enemies are currently harder to hit. This one is not adjacent. Diagonals do not count. And by the way, if I do destroy this guy, let's imagine. It's not a great example. Yeah, let's pretend that this was valid. Or this, whatever. This is valid. Imagine I destroyed this sphere. According to its passive, I can now move 2 dice on it to adjacent targets, correct? But the Waller's passive still applies to these dice, because you're still placing dice on the enemies. Adjacent enemies to the Waller. For example, I cannot place this 2 here. I cannot place anything from the sphere in there. All I can do is this, and only because it matches the weakness. If it was this, then because of the Waller, I still cannot. So that's a bit important. Waller is very much a high priority target. So what's gonna happen here is Balorta can't shoot because she's taking cover already. That was her action. I can't really tell the Waller right now. I think best I could do is just clear the way. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna shoot with Anis. At least 2 dice, but probably more than that. Yeah, so this 5 can go here. This 5 can go here. The 3 cannot. So this is just gonna be... It's gotta go here, actually. This guy's unaffected by the Waller. And this 6... Oh wait, no, this is reduced by 2. It's not valid. It's not illegal. The best I can do with adjacent targets is just reduce this by 2. Put it there. Because it doesn't affect itself with its value increasing thing. It doesn't protect itself. Protect is a keyword, so that's, you know. But yeah, it doesn't affect itself. And now I could use. Oh, this is good. Yeah. I could use litter to spray these 2 spheres. 2 on this one, a 3 on this one. When this sphere is defeated, this 4. Yeah, this 4 can go here. And this 3 can go here. And that's really good. A really good shot, litter. Really good. After that, sphere moves. Waller does not move. Fez moves. Dagger here is gonna spawn on the leftmost empty space above NIKKE in its row. So that's there. In this case, like if the dagger was to use his attack, it would not move to close, simply. The way I ruled it currently is it just moves to mid. And then when it is able to, it'll move to close. There's no official rule for that yet. Like, I'll probably make a frequently asked question about it or something. But for now, that's just how I do it. And it would not deal damage at all to anyone if it did that. If it went to mid or just didn't move at all. Because the attack specifically says if it is now at close range, deal 3 damage. So we did the enemy stuff. We click next turn. It's a burst 2 turn. And it's time to shine. Pinpoint rockets. Where's it going? Possibly that Fez right there. I think that's a good idea. But let's roll the dice first. Where are you going, man? There we go. So, on the Fez, yes. No. Yes. Okay, we can do that. Whatever I move to dagger will be reduced by 2, so I can't fill the topmost slot. I can do that. This one's gonna have to be wasted because I've already put 2 on the main target and 1 on the only adjacent target. But that's it for pinpoint rocket. And now nothing. That's not gonna work. It's fucked up. I can't really seem to make use of Balor to skill this cycle. That's fine. She can just shoot normally, like a normal person. That 6 is not really gonna help me here. There are no high slots in close range, and I can't use it to spray. So I think best I can do with litter right now is... It's funny. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna take cover and reload with litter. I only need 2 of these. 2 more of these. And I'll reroll that 6 as well. Yeah. Yeah. And he's only have 1 dice, so she's also gonna do that. And she's rerolling everything. Whoa. Alright. Motivate. And Belorta has really bad dice, but they're enough to get the Fez, if nothing else. Yeah, so that, and I'll just waste that one to destroy that Fez. That's my turn, basically. I think I did it all. These two have taken the reload and cover action. This one has shot, and I've used the burst as well. And I don't need taunts or anything, so I'm just gonna do the enemies. Oh, first the dagger, because it's from top to bottom. Then the dagger moves, the sphere moves, and these two move. Okay, we've run out of mid enemies. Whenever this happens, no biggie. Just reshuffle the discarded enemies. That's why I said it didn't matter if you discarded the top card at the start. So that's what I'm gonna do again. I guess it makes the enemy pile slightly more unpredictable, but I almost guarantee you're not gonna notice it. But yeah. Then we spawn the enemy, blank. Could've just done that. Oh, never mind. I was done. And Sphere Knight still not appearing. So speaking of enemy piles being predictable, I'm pretty sure if I've been seeing things correctly. Right now, here is the Knight, 1 blocker, and 3 strikers. Pretty sure that's it. Then I tap next turn, I'm going on to burst 3, which means I can use Litter's bursts. That's not it. Get 2 iron and advance the burst style. So these go to litter and litter. No, they're going to Belorta, so I can give a learning example. Okay, full bursts, we reset the used skills, the used actives, and we can use all of their bursts again. For that, I'm gonna take the reload and take cover action with Belorta. So she's gonna gain the dice that she's missing from her reload pool. That's 1 electric, 1 fire. And then she can reroll any of her dice, including the one that wasn't even in her reload pool at all. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Oh, really? Sure, that's fair, I guess. Okay, after that, I guess I'll use Tricky Bomber. So, independent shoots with these 4 dice. I roll them. And then I see where they go. Oh yeah, the dagger spawns here. Currently not a problem. It only becomes a problem if I clear the rest of the column. So I shouldn't just leave him alone at the column. Then he becomes a problem. That. Well. Okay. Yeah. I'll put these 2 here. And these 2 reduced by 2 here. That's the Tricky Bomber. It also says I can re-roll a couple dice per rocket launcher, so I'll do those. Oh, re-rolling does nothing in this run. Then Anis is gonna... Ooh. I was saying she was gonna shoot the fence, but yeah, she can. She can. That's fine. In fact, this is also a great learning example. So, Anis is gonna use these 3 dice, I guess. Yeah. So, first, I'm gonna put this one here. Then I will put this one there or there, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter because this triggers a core break. Core break, to remind, is when you place a dice with a 6 of the matching code, the matching color, on an enemy that only has 2 slots left. So like this. When that happens, the enemy is immediately defeated, so basically ignore the final slot. There we go. There we go. And this one goes here. Reduced by 2, but since it matches the code, it still can go in the 6th slot. Good shot. It does mean the dagger is gonna actually attack. But that's fine, because Balort is in cover. And we got plenty of cover recovery, which is a funny thing to say. Right here, that's what Litter's gonna take care of. That's pretty, I think that's a pretty obvious move here. Can't use that one, he's not weak to iron. And that, oh, never mind. It's a bad idea. This is, okay. Okay. Oh, I know exactly what to do. Okay, once again, core break. Litter's gonna use this single die here. That creates a core break. Then that die will get transferred here when the sphere dies, and that's a defeat as well. That was really good. That is a good shot. All right. I think I've used everyone's things except Litter's burst. I'm not sure if I use Anis's burst. I don't think so, actually. That's a great question. Normally, I tell myself, if you forget, that's a skill issue, so you don't get to do it. I might do burst reminders at some point, like I do skills. I just haven't because burst reminders are only relevant for 1 turn. You only need to remember that you use them for 1 turn, while skill reminders are here because it's for a whole cycle. I think I might have not used it, but I'm just gonna ignore it. Gonna use Litter Boost. We'll do that. Not press next turn, because that resets this stuff. And then, yeah. 2 of these. I'm gonna give one of these to Anis, so just so she can shoot 1 more time before reloading. And then another to Litter, because she makes good use of them. I'm not gonna use Bolt boosts because I feel like I might need the cover recovery soon, potentially. So I'll leave it at that. Enemy phase. Dagger moves to close, deals 3 damage to the cover, and then moves to the right. Sphere moves to the right. We get a blank and a reshuffle. Then a Waller. And this might be bad. Okay, it's not. It's fine. Next turn. So only the striker is currently affected by the Waller. So that's pretty good. But I also can't really defeat the Waller. With my current team, I can't really defeat the Waller without first getting through the striker. That's less good. Um, and the striker is gonna need 2 4s at least because of the Waller. So Sphere's got a lot of ones, that's what I'm thinking. So if I put yet another one on it, then I can't really fully make use of its passive to spread those dice around. But okay, so I think I'll just shoot with Ballard here, possibly using her skill. Surprise! So what that means in my case is I'm gonna put a 3 here and the 1 here, and this 3 on an adjacent target, which is not gonna get reduced because of this. Wait, no, that I've got to reroll that or use the 4. I'll use the 4. Then on the dagger, sure, I'll use that. Since this defeated at least 2 enemies, I'm gonna recover that skill use. Dagger's defeated. Sphere is defeated and can transfer 1 of its dice here. Striker's defeated. Whole row cleared. That went better than expected. Then. I can't efficiently do much with the Waller. But that's fine, I can just spin these 2 with the rocket launcher shoot. Waste that one, because he's not weak to iron, unfortunately. Because Litter couldn't really touch him at all. She can only use single big dice at close range. So honestly, Litter's just, I guess, yeah, reload and take cover. She's only re-rolling these 2. Okay. That's it. Enemy move, enemy spawn. Huh. Okay, that's a very calm turn I'm about to have. Well, I do need a calm turn because I need to reload with 2 of these. Okay. So Ballard to reload. Anna's reload. Very good. And Litter can just take care of the striker with these 2, basically. Waller advances again, we spawn more. Oh, it's a burst 1 turn, so I can at least try to shoot the Waller before that. I'm sure I'll make it. Yeah. Bam. It's a good tricky shot, a tricky bomber. I'll just reroll these 2. Nice. It's gonna come in handy, I'm sure. Blank spawn, sphere, and blocker. Like the boss is gonna be the last one. We're very close. Okay, once again we gotta get rid of that blocker's blocking. Like that, for example. And then I guess I could with Annis use these 2 dice. And why? Because one of them is gonna core break the blocker. That defeats him. The other just goes here, reduced by 2. Florta's gonna not do anything because the sphere could come in handy to defeat next turn. Well, I guess I could chip away at it. Because next turn, if I defeat it with adjacent enemies, it'll transfer dice to it. I'll just shoot these 2 dice. And we can move on. Knight. Okay, let's get some climax music in. Pretty good. Next turn. So, Knight has spawned. Okay, so the Knight deals 4 damage per attack, but most importantly protects adjacent foes. In this case, that's probably, yeah, that's gonna be this one and whatever spawns here, which is gonna be a striker. Pretty sure. So when you kill the target of a mission, you still get the rest of your turn to play. So you can still defeat those 2 enemies after the Knight, but not before. So yeah, that sphere is not gonna transfer anything to anyone. All I need to do is stop it from self-destructing here, basically. All right, so burst return. I didn't think of this, but the Knight is specifically a problem against rocket launchers because they always target the closest enemy of each column with their shots as the main targets, and the adjacent ones as adjacent targets. So by the Knight existing, it is protecting a whole column and potentially 2 adjacent enemies as well. So all the rocket launchers can really do here with their default shots is damage the Knight himself. Focus entirely on the Knight himself. Also, the mission says that the Knight has 2 lives, 2 health bars you could say. We're gonna take 2 of these tokens here, put them somewhere. There's only 1 target, so it doesn't matter where they are. You know which enemy it's referring to. And yeah, let's just take care of this. So first of all, litter boosts. No. First of all, yeah, it doesn't matter in this case, yeah. I'll just use this skill here, gauge formation, to increase that cover's durability. I guess, yeah. Also makes Lure to Taunt, whether I like it or not. And I can't really do anything about that, but that's fine. Yeah, so I'm gonna use litter boosts, advanced burst style, and distributes 2 of these. In this case, since Annis and Blorta don't really have adjacent targets to damage, they only need an even number of dice to shoot. They just shoot 2 each time, so I'm just gonna do this. I'm not gonna do bolt boosts. Not gonna bother. Yeah. So full burst turn. This resets. And now I'm gonna use pinpoint rocket, which does not suffer from the line of sight condition on normal rocket launcher shots. So I can use it to actually hit the Fez here. That's the one thing that can hit this Fez, basically, in this entire team. So it better, well, it's not gonna kill them. It's still a rocket launcher shot. It can still only put 2 dice on its main target. So unless it was like a 6 for a core break, it couldn't kill that, but it's fine. We'll do that. I'll get another pinpoint rocket eventually. As it was not like the smartest team for this mission, but it's gonna be fine, I think. Okay, the taunt doesn't matter because no enemies are gonna attack a NIKKE at all this turn. These three enemies don't have a NIKKE here, so their shots do not get redirected to anywhere either. They simply do not shoot a NIKKE this turn. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna focus down fire on the knights, and this is gonna be over pretty fast if I do that because I got pretty high rolls here. These two dice. Oh, no, actually, I'm gonna save this one for a future core break potentially. I'm gonna do this and this actually. Yeah. Then Anis does no. Yeah, okay, no, that's fine. No. Be efficient here. First litter is gonna put this in this. And then Anis is gonna shoot hers. So you can think of these two lives of the target as basically life bars. And what I mean by this is it doesn't really matter how many slots are left on the first life. I can shoot these two dice. I can put one of them here, clear the dice, and then place the remaining die, all in the same attack. That's not a problem. I just gotta get rid of this. And that's that. I still got Tricky Bomber. I guess we'll do that. Yes, I will. It's gotta be on the knight again, because there's not really a point getting this sphere per se. I think I'm not gonna overthink it. I guess unless I roll really badly. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's a good shot. Tricky Bomber done. All I need now is a litter boost. Another one. So let's advance the dial and get these two things. I'm just gonna accept that Anis is not gonna do anything else this fight. So I'm just gonna give these to the other two. No, I need litter. Yeah, yeah, that's fine, I think. No, okay, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give this one here. I'm gonna use Volt Boost to give Litter her own 2. And then that triggers double boosts, which is gonna let me reroll this one. Wow! Okay. Thanks, Litter. Alright, enemy turn. Well, they all simply move. Blank, good. Waller, less good. Okay. Next turn. Haunt is over. Well, that's one turn specifically. And it is gonna, you know, just pretend that she's gonna do something. It wasn't bad. Yeah, it was slightly bad. So I'm aiming here to end this mission with as clear a board as possible. And that's because of the scoring conditions here. You have -1 score for each surviving minion, which are the more dangerous mobs, basically. And -1 score for every 2 surviving husks, which are the trash mobs. So this guy being here, it doesn't affect the score at all. He's alone. But these 4 minions, it does. they do affect it. So I want to, on the turn that I defeat the knight, I want to ideally defeat the other 4 as well. Not necessarily gonna happen, but that's the ideal scenario at least. So here's what's, God, this is really bad. Okay, no, that's fine, that's fine. Okay. Alorta with Tricky Bomber is going to... I hope I'm not messing up here. I hope I'm not missing something. With Tricky Bomber, not Tricky Bomber, sorry, with Surprise. Surprise! She's gonna use this on the knight. So that goes there, that's a core break. The knight is no more. Now these two can go on adjacent targets. They are not reduced because of her skill. And I can re-roll them after placing because of her skill. Or after deciding which enemy they go to, basically. This guy doesn't matter, as we've established. So I can only really affect the Fez. Now, should I just put this here directly, or should I try to roll to maybe place it on 6? Am I even gonna be able to defeat that Fez? Not at all. Because Anis can't do anything. Litter can't really take care of. Oh. She can't. No, she can't. Yes, she can. Okay. Ah, there's a faller here, mother. Okay. So I can't even use this right now. Just have to pray. I can't use that either because of the waller. Okay. I sort of give up on those guys. Oh, this is really bad. I gotta give up on those as well. It's really bad. Yeah, no, I can only get the sphere. And even the sphere can't transfer any dice to the Fez. Yeah, that's gotta be kind of a shitty score here. Only the other Fez was directly above the sphere. I can transfer the dice to it. That'd be one more score. But yeah, maybe I should have waited. Should have let the knight just move on one more turn. I don't know. I think this is fine. For demonstration purposes, of course. I should also mention, speaking of the knight, if I had, for example, a blocker next to the knight, they both protect adjacent foes, meaning you can't place dice on adjacent foes, but protectors can't protect each other. They basically nullify each other's protection for each other. So in this case, the knight protects adjacent foes, so these 3, right? The blocker protects foes on the same and adjacent columns, so all of these. These 2 would not be protected at all, because they cancel each other's protection. But these 3 would still be protected by them. That's how that would work. But yeah, not relevant right now. This, however, as a learning example again, this is not a protection, this passive. It's a different effect. So they do quote-unquote stack. Like the Waller, does increase the value requirements on the knight slots, and the knight does fully protect the Waller. That's just something you're gonna have to keep in mind during the team building, and then during your actual strategy here. It's a bit of a fuck-ass move. It's a bit mean, but that's how it works. And you should try to counter it by having a lot of iron, or even NIKKE skills that ignore, like they can place dice ignoring enemy effects, like Sin's Burst. Now, there's one other that I'm forgetting, but yeah. In this case, again, that's not happening. The knight's defeated, and I guess I'll just spray on the sphere. Yeah. Alorta shoots. I'm sure she did. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Okay, whatever. So the sphere is defeated. But these dice, none of them can go here because of the Waller. So that's a shame. And I end my turn here. That's about it for the mission. The target's down, my turn is over. The enemies just, you could say that they run away. Something like that. And then we're gonna just basically count score here. So let's pretend that Litter's HP is my score. Mission clear. You have 25 base score, from which things will be subtracted. In this case, -1 for each NIKKE below half HP. That's actually a bit outdated, but yeah. What matters is none of them reduced my score. -1 per squad costs. So, NIKKE's, as the rules say, have tiers, and there's basically 2 ways to see that. Well, currently there's only one, which is the number of upgrade slots that they have here. That's their tier, so tier 3. Oh, and if you hover over them, it also says that. Tier 2, tier 2. They're also divided by tier here, so there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Yeah, we get it. And in the future, their backs will also show their tier and their credits cost for campaign mode. But yeah, right now, this is a 2, 2, 3, 7 cost team. We're gonna subtract that from my score. -1 per surviving minion, that's 3. Yeah, okay. -1 for every 2 surviving husks. There's only 1. He's not gonna affect my score at all. So in total, that's a score of 15. That's a 2-star rating. And the rewards are only relevant again for long-term modes, campaign specifically. Not sure which others yet, so ignore that. But yeah, that's basically your score. 15, 2 stars. It's pretty good. 3 stars is generally very, very difficult to achieve in pretty much every mission, I think. Because even the lower difficulty missions have stricter 3-star requirements for that reason. So yeah, that's a playthrough of NIKKE Dice. If you got any questions, just I guess comment or DM me if you know me. If you don't know me, I'm gonna share a link to the workshop, which has a link to my Discord. So there's that. You can start to know me. You can ask questions there, whatever. Give feedback, appreciate it. And yeah, I hope that was enjoyable. See you later.